Hey, it's Paul. It's YNR Update. Let's jump right into things. First of all, we see Neil, and he's with his kids now. He basically tells them that he thinks Victor and Jack's partnership is a train wreck waiting to happen. And later in the episode, we get to find out that it just might be. We also see them trying to figure out, whether Devon is still dating Hillary, and they don't really make any headway with that. We also see fake Jack. He wakes up confused. Now Ashley, Billy, and Victor are there, and they start arguing actually about what happens if he's not going to pull through, because of course they think Victor's going to make a grab for the entire company. And well, now they join Phyllis in Jack's room, and he has like a medical episode. So doctor rushes in. Long and short of it is, they end up putting Jack in a medically induced coma. They've given him some coma juice, I guess it is, to keep him in that coma. Hopefully he comes out of it. Still really confused because Jack's been there before for paralysis, a number of other things, the head injury. They've run vitals, blood on him, and they still can't figure out, even after running a CAT scan of his brain, that it's not the same guy. But let's just wait and see on that one. And then we also see Joe and Avery, and they're going back and forth. He's trying to tell her to get out of there, even though he doesn't really want her to go. So finally he has enough. He tells her to go. She belongs with Dylan. He doesn't, even though they fought, he really doesn't want her there. He wants her back with him. So Joe wheels out of there. Now Avery gets it in her head that she's going to send a text to Dylan and tell him that she's sorry and she's coming home. I'll explain what happens with that later. Then we see Michael, and he brings Dylan up to speed after coming back from Chicago. Dylan is angry that Sharon got loose and got arrested. And, then we see Sharon. She's pleading her case to Chris now. She really is making a really good case to her, and Paul has tried to make a case to Chris as well. And it seems to be going well. Now, Dylan gets there and he starts getting into it with Paul again over the same thing, and Paul does the same thing. He throws Avery in Dylan's face saying, why aren't you taking care of her? Now all Dylan wants to do is go see Sharon. So eventually Chris leaves, Dylan goes in, and Dylan makes a few promises to Sharon. One of them is that he is going to get her out of there, and he's also rightfully upset that she was able to talk to Chris without a lawyer, and Paul set this up. So same thing, way out of character. There's no way that would happen, and in fact it would really compromise any case, but it ends up being not a factor, because when Dylan comes out of there to go see Chris, she ends up telling him that she doesn't have enough evidence, she's going to drop the charges. Now while he's gone to do this, Avery's text comes in and says she's sorry and she's coming back, and Sharon don't understand the character. She's just free, but she's going to make some trouble for herself, because she sends a text, to Avery saying, making it look like it's from Dylan, and saying, you take care of what you've got to take care of there, and I'll take care of what I got to take care of here. So it's awful. Avery is dejected. She stays. You know what's going to happen. I mean, she talks to Joe, tells him about it, and Joe eventually tells her he doesn't want her to leave, which is what we all knew. And then what does Sharon do? She works this, because when her and Dylan are celebrating her freedom, they start making out. And they talk about how awkward it is and how they're not going to make it awkward, but the genie's out of the bottle. We know what's going to happen. They're going to get closer. So crazy. And then we see Michael later, and he runs into Lauren at the athletic center. Now Lauren says, because Sharon's been arrested, that means that you don't have to babysit her anymore. You can come home. Well, in fact, it's not going to happen. Michael flips out on her, makes it really public, and in fact Kane comes to her rescue, which makes it hard for Kane, because after Michael leaves and goes upstairs, Kane wants to go comfort Lauren, and Lily says yes, but she's not feeling it at all. Eventually Kane gets a hold of himself, and he goes and puts Lauren in a cab and goes back and makes nice with his wife. Now we also see Victor do more strange shenanigans. He basically has Neil in his office, and he tells Neil that all the paperwork on the merger isn't signed, and of course Neil thinks, well, you want me to forge this, I'm not going to do it. And he said no, he doesn't want him to do that. He wants him to vouch for Victor and vouch for the fact that Jack signed off on this. Now he's putting Neil in a real precarious position. I don't know if he's going to go for it, but Victor digs really deep and sort of sort of almost blackmails Neil, saying, you know, when everyone turned on you, when you were drunk, when you were blind, I was the only one that stuck up for you. I offered you a job. So he's got Neil in a real precarious position, but we'll have to wait and see what happens because we don't find out. But in the meantime, we see Michael, and he takes a room at the athletic club, and he goes up there, and then there's a knock on the door, and then we see someone come by. Gorgeous looking woman. Her name is Felicity. She's a call girl. And Michael spends the rest of his time, you know, pouring his heart out to this call girl and telling her how much he wants to hold his wife. Same thing. There's nothing that you can say that can make me understand why a guy that, you know, is riddled with cancer, going through a really tough time, he's pushing his wife away, he turns to a call girl so that he can talk to her. I don't understand it, but that's pretty much where we leave things off. You tell me what your thoughts are on this, because I'm really scratching my head, having a hard time trying to figure it out. It's Y&R Update. It's Paul. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Have a great day.